Chapter 9 Basic Animation in Flash. Chapter includes: Understand and organize a timeline. Understand animate using keyframes, frame-by-frame animation, tweened animation. Timeline and frames. The timeline is above the stage in the hash workspace. The timeline, which contains layers and framer, helps you to organize assets in your document and also controls a document's content over time. Flash document like movies or sound, which is measured using frames. The red playhead selects which part of the timeline is visible on the stage. Open basic animation demos frame by frame. Flash start and drag the playhead back and forth. This is called scrubbing the timeline. Keyframes are the only frames you may edit. All keyframes have small circles on them. Keyframes with visible content have solid circles, while blank keyframes have hollow circles. Click on the several different keyframes and watch the content on the stage. Change. You can hide or lock any layer by clicking on the dot under the eyeball to hide or the lock to lock. Click on the eyeball or lock directly to hide or lock all layers at once. Adding frames, keyframes and blank keyframes. When you want to build an animation, you will need to add keyframes to the timeline at the point in time in which you need to make an edit. There are two main ways to do this. First, you can right-click at the junction of the layer and frame and then choose keyframe from the shortcut menu. Or you can choose Insert Timeline from the menus once you have pre-selected the proper layer and frame. The following are shortcuts you may use to add different types of frames. Insert Frame D5. This adds frames that extend from the previous frame to the selected frame. It extends content on the stage, but these frames are not editable. Insert Keyframe F6. This adds an editable keyframe, but it also copies any content from the previous keyframe. This is helpful in animating objects since it gives you another instance of the object to work with. Insert Blank Keyframe F7. This also adds an editable keyframe, but it will be blank. This is useful if you have ended an animation and want to start with nothing in that frame. Open the following demos saved as basic animation demos, frame by frame car, flashback. You will find that a car is being animated across the screen. Flash storage work. Flash memory is a solid-state click that maintains stored data without any external power source. It is commonly used in portable electronics and removable storage devices and to replace computer hard drives. Changing the pacing and timing. The car takes about 1 second to get from the beginning to the end. This movie plays at 12 frames per second, To make the car move more slowly, we need more frames. You could click and drag the keyframes to a later point on the timeline. This will stretch out the length of the animation, but it will still be jumpy. To make it less jumpy, you need not just more frames but more keyframes. This would allow the car to move less each time, giving the illusion of a smooth transition. Previewing the animation. In addition to scrubbing the timeline, another way to test the movie is to preview the SWF. This will actually publish a sovereign wealth fund file to the same folder as the .flat document. The SWF file is the file that will play in the Internet browser. It is the file which must be uploaded to the web server upon completion of the project. Make sure you publish all relevant files, as Flash will often create several companion files to help the Sovereign Wealth Fund file work on a public website. During the local preview, you will not need to concern yourself with companion files. Preview the SWF by pressing Ctrl plus Enter command plus Return on a Mac, or select Ctrl Test Movie Test. Types of animation. Animation refers to the drawings made and compiled in a manner to show movement. Animation in Flash can be done in following ways. 1. Frame-by-frame animation. 2. Tweened animation. Frame-by-frame animation. Frame-by-frame animation changes the contents of the stage in every frame. It is best suited to complex animation in which an image changes in every frame instead of simply moving across the stage. Frame-by-frame animation increases file size more rapidly than tweened animation. In frame-by-frame animation, Animate CC, formerly Flash Professional CC, stores the values for each complete frame. To create a frame-by-frame animation, define each frame as a keyframe and create a different image for each frame. Each new keyframe initially contains the same contents as the keyframe preceding it, so you can modify the frames in the animation incrementally. 1. Click a layer name to make it the active layer and select the frame in the layer where the animation is to start. 2. If the frame isn't already a keyframe, select Insert Timeline Keyframe. 3. Create the artwork for the first frame of the sequence. Use the drawing tools, paste graphics from the clipboard, or import a file. 4. To add a keyframe whose contents are the same as the first keyframe, click the next frame to the right in the same row. Select Insert Timeline Keyframe or right-click Windows or Control-click Macintosh and select Insert Keyframe. 5. To develop the next increment of the animation, alter the contents of this frame on the stage. 6. To complete your frame-by-frame animation sequence, repeat steps 4 and 5 until you've built the desired motion. 7. To test the animation sequence, select Control Plane or click the Play button on the controller window toolbar's controller. Tween animation. Tweening in animation is a short for in between, the process of generating intermediate frames between two images to give the appearance that the first image involves smooth into the second image. It is used when you need to change the shape or position of the object at fixed interval of time. Tweened animations have smaller file sizes. The two types of tweened animation are 1. Motion tweening. 2. Shape tweening. 3. Frame-by-frame tweening. Facts.com. Tweening is a term coined by the pioneers of Flash to denote in-between. Motion tween. This is one of the basic animation techniques. Motion tween refers to any object that travels from one point to another and involves no change in shape or size of the object over a period of time. However, changes may occur in color, texture, or distance of the object. Shape tween. In shape tween, you draw a vector shape at one specific frame in the timeline and change that shape or draw another shape at another specific frame. Shape tween is a term used in Macromedia Flash to refer to the transition from one shape to another. Before we can create our tween, we are going to need the shapes that will be used to produce the tween effect. Animate then interpolates the intermediate shapes for the frames in between, creating the animation of one shape morphing into another. Creating a simple motion tween is a very easy process. You need at least two vector shapes, the initial shape and the final shape. You merely select the frame type as shape tween to make the first shape morph into the other during playback of the movie. Let's do this step by step. First of all, in a new Flash file, draw a circle in frame 1. In the same layer, insert a blank keyframe in frame 10. Right-click that frame and select Insert Blank Keyframe. Draw a square in there. The sizes, positions, colors of both objects do not matter. All that matters is that they are in the same layer. To do the magic trick, you have to select the first frame that you created. You do that by clicking on frame 1 of your layer in the timeline. Then you have to change the tween type from the Properties Inspector. If you cannot see this window, you can show it by going to Window Properties. In the Properties Inspector, simply change the tween to shape. You should notice that the frame color changes to green when shape tween is used. You are not required to make any more changes to see the effect working. You can just hit Enter on your keyboard to see the animation rolling. You can easily make the square in turn morph to another shape. You do that by repeating the process. In this case, we can add another blank keyframe at frame 20. Draw a circle this time in there. Now select frame 10 on your layer and change the tween in the Properties panel to Shape. Facts.com, make sure that your graphics will have to be shapes and you must not convert them into symbols if you want to use the shape tween. Our example was a very basic example of how to make a morphing effect in Flash. We have used only one shape in each frame, while in reality you can put as many shapes in any frame. If the number of shapes in the first frame is less than those in the second frame, the shape will divide to create the new shape. If the case was the opposite, the shapes will combine to make up the new shape. Frame by frame refers to the movement created. You can change a drawing in every keyframe. For example, you draw a square and in frame 20, you can change the square to a triangle. Key points. Flash is an effective tool used to create animations for the web pages. Frames contained in each layer appear in a row to the right of the layer name. The timeline header at the top of the timeline indicates frame numbers. Playhead indicates the current frame displayed on the stage. As the document plays, the playhead moves from left to right through timeline. Flash supports the types of animation, frame-by-frame animation and tweened animation. In frame-by-frame animation, you change content for each frame in the timeline. The two types of tweened animation are motion tweening and shape tweening. In motion tweening animation, you define content in the first and the last frame of the animation. In shape tweening animation, you draw a shape at one frame in the timeline and change that shape to another shape at another specific frame. Classic tween refers to tweening in Flash Computer Science 3 and earlier and is maintained in Animate primarily for transition purposes.